Welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with this week. Steam sucks off a Smurf. Well, not really. Really. Gauntlet gets delayed, but only for kids who can't read good and want to do other stuff good too. And I am going to give some advice for your next crowdfunding project. Gather round, children.
AMD wants to know what you think of their Catalyst drivers, and I'm pretty sure they're not ready to open up that can of worms. The never-ending story. And PC gaming is dead. Long live PC gaming.
Counter-Strike Global Offensive was released, and by the time you looked away, it had already gone home. Sion Rosenblum tells us to fight a dragon, and since his game is no longer in early access, we're happy to oblige. And Lutris gets a massive new update, and it teases some goodness for the next version.
That was P-Man, all the way from Space Portugal, the Giggling Death, and J-Man in Canaria Land. What's up, buddy?
Hey,
buddy.
Not much. I'm debating buying a new CPU so I can be able to play Tropico 5, a game I have no intention of playing unless I get a copy of it. And what else? I was helping FreeJack get this WebRTC server set up, but we'll talk about that a little later. Then, what's new with you? What's going on, Stud?
Well, over here in Vinland, we did buy the domain name cocainevoltron.com.
Woohoo!
So, yoink. I was like, how is that not...
Gotta redirect that one to the live stream.
Right. We'll be doing that next week. Also bought the Wicked Firestarter. Nice little butane lot from some company that they didn't bother putting on
Spunk.
the lighter, so they don't get a free plug. It was like 20 or 30 quid. I like it. It's decent. The world's a better place. P-Man.
Well, I gave myself the Pepsi challenge of trying different desktop environments, window managers, etc. This week, I've been hammering on Enlightenment 19. And it works surprisingly well once you spend like 4 or 5 hours sorting everything out. I have a newfound respect for Jeff Hoogland and the guys behind Bodhi. Mad respect.
Well, you do know, folks, that demands some mad respect, J-Man.
I think he has many, many teeth that don't show up when he closes his mouth.
Because that's schnoppy.
Because it's schnoppy!
It is! Now looks like he's shitting leaves, but don't let that distract you, because he's also going to offer you unlimited web hosting, made affordable and easy, unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, easy control panel. Trust me, no lie on that. One-click script installs. And check this business out. Call him at 3 o'clock in the morning. Be like, I love you. And they're like, we love you too. Do you need some help? Not really. They're like, that's great, you know. But that's true. You get a hold to a real carbon-based entity 99% of the time. And they're going to give you 20% off. That's $3.96 a month on hosting offers, J-Man. Brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, no, that's fucking shit. I'll tell you why. Because if you enter our awesome-tastic seizure code, LinuxGameCast FTW, I can't think of a clever initialism for that right now, but you can get 25% off your hosting package. Doesn't count domain names, but who cares? You already have 50 of them.
Brilliant. So do we got to thank some people? Oh, no, we got a PSA before we do that.
Oh, no. We do have to thank some people for some donations coming in this week.
Yes, Eric Singos gave us... He upgraded from $3.50 a month to $10 a month.
Yay!
Space Australian dollars.
That's great. Now he gets to look at our Nightmare Fuel being made live during the week in the show notes. Donate. We don't spend most of it on hookers and blow. Just some.
Just most of it. And of course, a huge thank you to FreeJack for getting this GC video bridge set up for us. He spent his week fighting with my busted server permissions to you can see us now. We're not using Skype video, we're using Jitsi video bridge. Yep. And it works pretty well. Or we'll see if it works well in post.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And the second part of our PSA, well, we'll curate it for you. If you're one of those people that thinks that the Steam store could have used some curation and for the longest time with the amount of shovelware getting pushed into it since Valve opened the floodgates, yeah, I personally am one of those people. So if you'd like LGC to curate the Steam store for you and actually cherry pick the games coming out that are actually worth your time, you can go on over to the Steam store, Curator, type in LinuxGameCast in the Curator search box. We're there. Just follow us.
But
and
Shadowrun Dragonfall isn't.
Yeah, we're still working out the kinks. There are some games still missing, but we already have like 16 and 17 in our list, so
that you probably
have
already own at this point.
Yeah, probably. Have a look. I mean, it's a filter.
Well, this week the horse is looking a bit blue and sparkly, isn't it? It's got a bit of a facelift.
It ate a Smurf.
Jesus Christ, it's our Steam!
Lex.
Update!
Mine eyes, they are killing me. A smarter storefront personalized just for you to discover your next favorite game in the color blue. Wow, this thing. They smacked the store with the ugly stick, didn't they?
Yep.
I think their designers went to the same school of design that the guys who worked on Linux gaming.
I don't know. I mean, you can sort through it. It's very blue. They like that color. When you go to the games, you can sort. The one thing I don't like, we're looking at it here, which you might not be able to see. I don't see a way to sort sales. And you can go to highest price or lowest price, but that still throws you in the situation of, I got to sort through all the free games and all that business. Anybody have some solutions?
Check our curator page. I don't know.
Yeah, basically. Well, although we probably won't keep the curator page updated with all the sales, we'll just, recommend the games that we're actually recommending.
Yeah, well, at least you can filter out early access games. That's a neat little feature.
Yeah. And Windows and Mac games no longer show up on the storefront unless they also have a Linux version, which is kind of awesome.
One other cool little enhancement they made was if you're on a browser or you're on a Steam client, it'll do an OS check and it will show you the system requirements for the operating system you're currently on.
That's a bit neat, but I think this is all a moot point because PC gaming is dead, bro.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Totally. Someone needs to call Valve.
According to GameSpot.com, PC gaming is dead. I'm just fucking with you. So, according to this article, which you can find a link to in our show notes, woohoo! Steam reaches 100 million users and 3,700 games. Now, I think that's some pretty definitive figures. I think no one is playing video games on PC anymore. Period.
Nope, it's dead, Jim.
Completely dead. No one bothers with it. We have been beaten by the potato race in their 400 and something titles for their next gen hardware.
Yes, but to be fair, a lot of the Steam accounts are like duplicate accounts for people who are farming items on TF2 and whatever.
Yeah, but they are very careful to only account for the active accounts. If you actually read the article, it's 100 million active accounts. So those people that just made an account and left it to rot, those don't count.
No, well, if you farm items, you are active. You are actually active on that account. But that being said, I find your statement offensive.
Terribly.
Globally offensive?
Yes.
This is Counter-Strike, and it's here!
What is it? Never heard of it.
Freaking damn it, it's finally here. It's Valve's realistic shooter-type game that pits terrorists and counter-terrorists against one another. The terrorists either have to plant a bomb or prevent the counter-terrorists from...
Because Counter-Strike hasn't been around for 100 million years. If you don't know what this is, you should probably take the glue stick out of your mouth and play some PC games.
This is the absolute latest iteration of Counter-Strike. And it's got the newest source engine. It's not Source Engine 2 because that they've started introducing it into Dota 2, but I don't think it's on Global Offensive yet. But I have to say that besides the fact that I had to delete libgcc_s and libstd6++ from the game's bin folder, it actually runs decently enough.
And a good shout out to Andrew Pyle for giving me a copy. I didn't own this already.
Yeah, same here, $14.99, and I definitely gotta say thanks for that because fuck all if I would buy it. I mean, I'm sorry. Counter-Strike.
there is a recurring.
As I'm saying, installed it, launched it, and I was like, well, it works. Then I watched a match, and I was like, these people have no lives.
Yeah, it's Valve's competitive game. Besides Dota 2, it's the other game that they have for MLG and all the pro gaming leagues out there. So yeah, the players here actually know what they're doing. And besides players, you also get developer wannabes creating special maps for the multiplayers, namely Gone Home. Did you ever wish?
No. One of the recurring themes on Linux Gamecast is the fact that we absolutely despise gay people. Isn't that right, Ben?
Yes.
Yeah. Totally. I can't say that with a straight face. But if you listen to the reason that we didn't like Gone Home, apparently it's because we don't. Stupid people. No, this is the map that gave me a 0.5 fuck given for CS Gone Home. Fired it up, installed from the workshop without issue. It's a faithful recreation of our favorite game.
But can you pick every item up and leave it in a room?
Unfortunately, you can't. Really, but I was like, this would be fun as long as we get to kill. See, I wanted the protagonist in the story to be in there. I just walk and go, there, save 45 minutes. I want that
Lesbian
time.
terrorists have invaded your house. Are you a bad enough dude to stop them?
No, that was the Gun Home DLC. That's an entirely different story. It's not available for Linux, so we can't talk about it. But you know what is available for Linux? Vin, why don't you tell us about it?
Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. I can actually feel J-Man's erection from here. What is it? I don't know. I've never played it, but I've heard good things. J-Man, tell them all about it.
Well, it's the best game from 1998 that you already own, available on Linux today. Sorry, Avengers. Well, I mean, what is it? It's Baldur's Gate. It's the classic turn-based RPG. They made an enhanced edition with a bunch of extra content, and they made a Windows version, and they said, oh yeah, Linux is coming. And then, 2 years later, here we are. And I can say with some certainty, it's about goddamn time. Jeez.
Yeah, 2 years. Okay. But yeah, it is Baldur's Gate. If you played Baldur's Gate 2, this is a slightly improved engine with a couple of new things here and there. But it's basically the exact same thing. Which is why I don't feel like paying another €13.99.
$19.99 wet stinky caches. Let's see.
Especially when you can play the actual game on GemRB under Linux perfectly fine.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure that 512 gigajoules of RAM. Nope, megajoules, not gigajoules.
Well, they don't have the Linux tab there yet because it's still in a beta. You
need to enter the beta code March of the Penguins, actually.
Actually, you don't need to anymore.
No?
They've kind of scrapped. You just download the game. There it is. You don't need the beta password anymore.
Right. Well,
but it is still a beta. They do say it's still a beta, so keep that in mind.
But then, what is this? A dungeon for ants?
No. This comes from Phronix. Gauntlet Linux version delayed for Steam machines, and this kind of struck something in the back of my brain organ, because we covered when it was originally, it's like, it's going to be released for everything, and I remember them saying it's going to be for SteamOS, and even back then I was like, that's clever wording, why don't you just say Linux? But I never remember at any point of them saying it's going to be a simultaneous release across all platforms, and it turns out they fucking didn't say that, actually. Let's just go over here to the forums from last month. Support for SteamOS is planned, but the release details are TBD. And we go over the Twitters. Gauntlet will offer full support for SteamOS in the upcoming Steam machines in 2015. They weren't exactly going, oh, it's coming out, everybody buy it, and yoink, pull a bait and switch on you. The developers were clear about this, but J-Man, we do have some rules.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've been watching the show for a while or you're listening to the show, you know that you shouldn't actually buy any game that is coming out on Linux until it's launched and has an actual Linux binary you can download. Yep. Oh god, it's so gassy. But as an aside, Valve really should put a moratorium on sticking the Penguin logo next to games that don't have a confirmed Linux binary. It's a bit of a bait and switch thing that some of these guys are doing, and also it sort of nips these sorts of issues in the bud before they happen.
Well, I mean, big studios could never. I mean, indie. How do you expect indie developers to do it? I mean, like think about WasteLand 2. How long did we have to wait? It was like 2 years before we got that for Linux. Wait,
it was 2 years before we got that for Linux, but it was also 2 years before anyone else, be it Mac or Windows, got it, because it was a simultaneous release.
For a minute there, I thought that whooshed over your head, Pedro. Good save. Chase the Dragon.
Ah, yes, Chase the Dragon. You may remember from a long time ago in Futures Past, Shion Rosenblum actually contacted us. He sent us some hate mail about his new game. So I replied to him and was like, okay, sure, I can help you beta test or alpha test your game at the time, which was Fight the Dragon. And it is a pure Unity hack and slasher with a heavy focus on user-created content. It's mostly just the levels. You can't really create anything else at this point. But yeah, you have a couple of levels that were actually created by Shion and his team. But everything else was created by players. And so expect to see some poorly speaking NPCs and some incoherent stories and some outright buggy levels. Because while the games that the actual team made, the levels that the actual team made, are coherent and cohesive, the other ones, it's hit and miss.
Well, it says it only supports
I'm
NVIDIA.
patiently waiting for Heroin Hero.
Gotta chase that dragon, baby. But that does clock in at, let's see, early access 14.99 wet sticky. I'll confirm over here that it does work. And P-Man, you can confirm even though it says NVIDIA only.
Yeah, it does say NVIDIA only, but if you're using the open source drivers, at least on our 600 cards, it works fine. I've heard some people that say that it works fine on Radeon SI too. If you have FGLRX, stay the fuck away, because it probably won't work.
Oh, but we'll get to that a bit later.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know what Linux could really use? You know what PC gaming in general could really use? Another tower defense game.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have any of those. Come on, man.
You know, they exist purely on Android devices and iPads. No, this is Defense Grid 2. This is out. Apparently, this is the sequel to the definitive tower defense game, whatever the hell that actually means. I mean, I have zero interest in this whatsoever. Apparently, it's anticipated. Apparently, there are some people who really, really, really like tower defense games, and if you do, this might be your bag. It's 25 wet stinky, so it's a bit expensive for something you can play for free on the internet.
On the web, right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I have to agree with you with the fact that the genre has been done to death, man. The Plants versus Chainsaws, I don't know.
Well, Zeppelin Fighter, Anomaly, it's been reconstructed and deconstructed. Hell, even Metroid.
Even without going outside of the subgenre inside the tower defense genre, this already exists. This is Anomaly all over again.
Yeah, and you know, it lists partial controller support, so if you want to actually play this on your TV box, you may not be able to do that.
Nightmares imprisoning me, all that I see. Absolute black and white.
Oh, gee, see, the first time I saw the trailer for this, I'm like, didn't we play this fucking game already? No, this looks like that other physics puzzle game that we reviewed that we really liked last week, the name of which is The Bridge. That's what it's called.
The Bridge.
But
yeah,
very similar art style. But this is supposed to be, I don't know, some creepy game. It's a horror game. They don't really explain how it works.
You did a great job selling
point.
this.
It's the point of the game is sort of exploration.
if you look at the fourth screenshot, someone wants to give you a hug,
as you continually awaken into hellish nightmares. It must be set in Detroit. Hide from horrifying apparitions and outrun your inner demons. As you
that's like every dream for me.
Hey, well, what type of inner demons does a little boy have? Is it bad touch?
That's
he
the
just
thing.
Wants to give you a hug. Bad touch. Bad touch.
we had already talked about this game when it was still very early in its Kickstarter days, and the game itself is based on the creators. With how the creator dealt with OCD and depression during his younger years. So he made a video game, all hand-drawn, all pretty looking, and here it is. It's out of early access now. You can buy it for... it's in euros, so $14.99, 10% off. That's $13.49. How much is that for you guys?
No regional pricing. It's the same.
Yeah.
But really, all I can say about this thing is great. Now I have morning wood. Coming up next, AMD wants to hear what you think. Oh, we'll let them know, all right.
Boys and girls, it's the news! And I'd like to propose a new rule for the LGC drinking game. Whenever we start a segment without AMD news, you finish your drink. And you know what? This week, you can save your liver because guess what? AMD news!
Oh, yes. So, there was a little YouTube video that the Advanced Micro Devices fellows put out earlier this week, and they said, well, we've been getting a lot of we want feedback for our Catalyst drivers. People want it to be easier to install and better looking. So we're going to set up this survey. Yes, we're going to set up this survey. We want your feedback. And I gave him 1 share, but what it's about is, well, I don't quite know, to be honest. Please rate your satisfaction with the AMD Catalyst driver. And the categories are overall, ease of download, ease of installation, features, and stability, to which I gave 1 share for each of them. With a nice little comment, fix your fucking shit with new Linux kernels and latest Xorgs. If NVIDIA can do it on day 1, you can too.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people, even in our chat room, Static, somebody posted in there, and this was going around on the Reddits, on the internets. And I'm like, well, listen, I knew everything I needed to know about AMD back in 2012 when they nixed their kernel developers working on Linux. It was like, oh, we're not going to work on this. Like, message received, man. And that's the whole thing you got to think about. I mean, the drivers are almost on parity as being equal shit as on Windows, but they do kind of work. They're still figuring out how to open jailbro on the Linux.
They're trying to figure out recent kernels, it seems.
Yeah, they're recent kernels, new Xorgs. Those bewilder AMD at this point because they have no idea how to deal with them. And the last time I actually tried to install FGLRX on my calculator was in 2013, and it didn't work. It flat out didn't work. It was when the 312 or the 310, I can't remember which of the kernels it was, but it didn't support it. DKMS was broken, and even after patching their DKMS cock-up, I found that it simply did not support the new kernels. So that's the point where I gave up, and I'm just using Gallium now. And AMD, as much as I criticize them, I kind of like what they're doing with Gallium. They're actually supporting the open source drivers. So do yourselves a favor and stop using Catalyst for Linux altogether. Unless they fix it, and I'm hoping they will.
Or you're on OpenSUSE.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Right back, let them know. I'm sure they'll, it's like if Linux drop.
I like that. Bag of dicks, eat them. You didn't try to do little Bobby tables. I'm a bit disappointed.
But this kind of hit me out of left field. All right. This is the Cool Biker game with a temporary name. That's the name. Haha, get it. Joke. They're looking
because it's so indie. Oh my god.
Man. They're looking for 10,000 euros. They got 195 euros. I was looking through this. Now, they do have a demo, but it's, what is it? You never heard of it? It's like a biker racing game, like Road Rash with choppers. And it is a chopper. Zed's dead, baby. And
is that Unity?
of course, you can tell it's Unity by looking at it.
Of course it is. I was just looking at the grass, and I'm like, yeah, that looks like Unity.
So here's the thing.
I'm just looking at the graphics in general.
There'll be a link to the demo, which is like this moon thing to go find, because that's what I want to talk about here on the Indiegogo campaign. I was looking at a couple of things. So gather around, crackers. Uncle Vin's going to give you some free advice.
Tell us, Uncle Vin, tell us.
You need to have a link that actually works on your fuckmothering page to download the alpha, because you type demo, you're not going to find it. Alpha version, so you can... Okay, we're just going to click that. Oh, nope, that didn't work.
Where did it go?
And I had to search long and hard for it, and I finally found it over on their development site, which is apparently hosted in Mothering Middle Earth, because I could barely get a half megabit download speed for that 208 thing that took almost an hour. And, you need to proofread your bits here.
They're French. You cut them some slack. They're French.
They get zero slack.
Check this business out right here. In this... my brain's trying to save me. It's trying to reprocess it. In this way, one will not have to lean by heart a track to be able to complete with hardcore players. Here's another thing. They're going to procedurally generate all the things when it comes to the track design, which means that's kind of like fuck you to racing fans. The one thing you want to do is learn the damn track.
And did you lean that line by heart?
I leaned it so hard, I think I pulled something, man. And here's a last bit of advice from Uncle Vin. If you got 8 funders, you just make fuckmothering sure that 4 of them aren't the same damn person, because that looks a bit sketchy, yo. Just throwing that out there. You'll be able to play with it. Of course, it's a Unity game. It does launch, and they do attempt to use the clicked export. They didn't even chmod the executable. So first thing you do, chmod X and do that. And the Xbox 360 controllers are so completely busted, only reverse works. So I was playing the game driving backwards in reverse. Was the best I could do. So let's just stay away from that noise and learn a few things, because I'm pretty sure you're going to see us link to that, and you're going to come watch this video and maybe get some education in your brain organ. Now, Free Gamer, Citadel.
That's shocking, isn't it? No, this is Citadel. This is allegedly another one of these engine recodes specifically for System Shock. Not System Shock 2, the original one. If you want to play System Shock 2, you're still stuck playing it on Wine. But they're using the GPL Dark Places engine. They're aiming to make it a full 3D port, as opposed to the isometric Doom or Free Doom style that was the original System Shock. And that's an interesting project. I mean, we've seen many such projects become ultimately successful. Arx Libertalis, the Open Jedi Knight stuff. Open Morrowind, those crazy motherfuckers.
crazy motherfuckers.
This is a project of considerably smaller scope. And if you have the original System Shock CD, System Shock CD,
System Shock.
What am I? What am I? Gold member? If you have that lying around, you might want to give this a little look.
I mean, it's definitely priced to sell, so
yeah, it's cheap as free.
Check that business out. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and like with every single engine reimplementation, make sure you have working the original data in a working condition, because if that CD is scratched, it probably won't work.
But it's System Shock. You can find that on the Pirate Bay. No one's making money off that.
Hi, NSA.
Don't be a square, man.
Who cares? Square heroes.
All right, check this out.
Fucking squares.
They contacted us, and they're like, here, check this out. Here's some, you can download the demos and all that. Square Heroes is a hilarious arena shooter featuring online LAN co-op and local multiplayer gameplay, blah, 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 humanity something. It has maps, I'm seeing like worms here, man.
Not exactly.
No, this is actually Liero, which for those of you who were not
Nomic
playing games in the Nomic, that's gonna fucking give me some nightmares. But so if you haven't played Liero on DOS, it's essentially real-time worms, which is what this is, except instead of worms, it's squares because graphics are expensive, you know.
Yeah, and non-deformable terrain, but at least, it's free. They're giving out the first 1,000 retail keys on the Sura are free. So if you go on over to the Sura, scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can just click the free thing and download the client, play around with it. Yeah. Click the link.
Granted, that's you can. If you can actually get your Desura client to launch and run long enough to do that, keep that business in mind. So,
but speaking of French people,
take them up. Fire the missus.
Mr. Mathieu Commandant. Pretty sure I just butchered his name, but yeah, he's known as Strider in Chat Realm. But yeah, he just released the Lutris 0.3.5. And there's you can find the entire changelog on lutris.net, but I'd like to highlight a very specific part, which he says, we have every emulator included in the client compiled and packaged for Lutris itself and can install any one of them, whether they are made available for your distro or not. All this without root access. Nice. Very nice.
Wait, I thought you were crying in the notes about the PSP emulator or something.
Yeah, that's one of the things. They have a bunch of emulators included, including PCSX, which is for the first PlayStation. And, okay, so you have that, you better have the PSP one. Nope. So here's my official request, Ryder. PPSSPP. Get that one going, and because that's really the only emulator I have installed right now. I like to play Dungeon Siege, Throne of Darkness, or whatever it's called. It's the PSP version of Dungeon Siege. But yeah, they do say that with the upcoming version 0.3.6, they will include GOG, Humble, and TOSEC in the Lutris client. TOSEC, for those of you who don't know, it's the old school emulation center. It's like a database for ROMs for the really old consoles and everything.
So if you're looking for a quick, concise thing that Pedro is completely incapable of doing, what this is like collect all your games. It's like a Steam client that you don't have to futz with all the folders and all that. Yeah. Plus, you get all the emulator goodness in there. This is actually turned for something that, when Strider first came and was like, hey, guys, look at me. We're like, wait a minute, you're French. And we're like, we'll forgive you for that for now. And then we thought about what he was doing. We're like, is that really necessary? He just went from that to turning this into something that's like, that's marginally useful.
Yeah, it's getting really useful. And the library is growing. If you've gone over to their website, there's a whole lot of games, including Steam ones, which the client will set up for you. No work needed.
It's pretty nice too, because it'll work with a bunch of the old Linux ports like Neverwinter Nights and Unreal Tournament. Yep. We'll get that all set up for you. So definitely check that out. That's at lutris.net. And of course, you can find that link in our show notes. But, Pedro, why don't you just curl up into a little ball and die?
Nope. Now, admittedly, I don't look as good as Seamus Aran does, but this is
Seamus Aran.
Seamus. Yeah, Seamus, let's do it. But yeah, this is AM2R, which is, again, another engine reimplementation, this time around for Metroid 2, the one that was only released for the Game Boy. Yeah, that one. Now you can actually play it on your PC if for some reason you want. There is a demo available right now. Honestly, did they actually mention when the full version will be released?
No clue.
Nope. Yeah. So they have a bunch of new things in the new 1.33 demo. Like, the entire project was ported from Game Maker, I'm guessing Game Maker 8 to Game Maker Studio, which is what is basically allowing this to have a Linux board, because Game Maker 8 multi-platform, what's that? But other than that, they have they basically overhaul the entire thing. It's changing from Game Maker to Game Maker Studio, and they fixed a bunch of bugs. It loads a lot faster now. They tweaked some of the levels to not only look coherent with the way they did in the old Game Boy version, but, to account for the new graphics. And the spider ball can now be activated with any of the aiming buttons. If you have any clue what that means, go ahead and download it.
J-Man, does this give you a chubby? Is this something you're going to futz with?
I can play this on a Game Boy emulator, to be perfectly honest. But, it's a neat little project. I hope it goes somewhere, because, it's always good when people try to flex their game-making and game-porting muscles.
It's a great learning experience.
But Ven, I have some lovely patchouli I'd like to sell you.
I swear to you, man, patchouli is like the one thing. If you ever need to take me out, just spray me with it. I want to stab things that smell like patchouli. It smells like insecticide.
But this is autumn, and this is some hippie crap game.
Everywhere. I want to say
that it's some hippie puzzle game. I initially described it as Zen Buddhism, the game, but actually I did a bit of research, and apparently it is based off of the philosophy of some guy named Prabhat Ranjan Sakar, who attempted to, in his philosophy or whatever, combine tantric and Vedic philosophy.
How high do you have to be to play this game?
See, yeah, I was this bored at work that I researched the philosophy this is based off of, and I have to tell you, it's pretty. If you believe in that stuff, good for you. More power to you. Not my bag of dice. But you have a video game that covers this stuff, so you can go play it. It's completely free, from what I understand. And it's supposed to promote learning, growth, and spirituality, because we have an overabundance of that. There we go, Ben.
Yeah.
Breathe, damn it. Breathe.
I think that's literally killing Ven.
It's the patchouli, man. But you can find that at bitsoutsideTheBox.com/autumn. And I think that'll wrap up our news segment as Ven chokes to death on patchouli. Coming up next, we get wasted. Woo!
In a land.
And we're about to get wasted reviewing WasteLand 2 from In Exile Entertainment. You might have heard of them as the guys who have Brian Fargo at the head. And speaking of head, Pedro wants to give him that. But anyways, this is a Unity game. You can pick it up for $39.99 Wet Stinkies or $34.99 Moon Unit dollars, whatever the hell kind of money they use in Space Portugal. What is it? WasteLand 2 is the direct sequel to 1988's WasteLand, the first ever post-apocalyptic computer RPG and the inspiration behind the Fallout series. Until WasteLand, no other CRPG had ever allowed players to control and command individual party members for tactical purposes, or give them the chance to make moral choices that would directly affect the world around them. I don't remember if Privateer 2 was out by 1988. That's irrelevant. But what is relevant is the Chairquisition. 1 chair means that it's crap. 2 chairs means that it's pretty good. 3 chairs means that it's... Or no, 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means shut up, take my money, I love it. And Pedro will go on and 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 on. And of course we have our categories of Doom, makes with working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So then, did you get wasted on WasteLand? Did it make with the working?
Wasted. Made with the working over here in Vinland on our octo-core dual 770 box of business, running the Ubuntu 1404 LTS. Had one little glitch. It went to the large world map where we move around. One time it did that, and it was completely black, and I found that racist. So...
Don't tell Monster, Cameron.
I know. It was completely... irreproducible. It never happened again, so I couldn't dig in a chair for that. It was probably just some random glitch in the fact that this is a Unity game that runs very well. I can't knock it, so we'll give that 4 chairs. Makes with the working. Brilliant.
You know, were we to have 5 chairs, I would have given this a 5th one because CloudSync actually worked on a fucking Unity game for once. I could stop playing on one machine and play it on another machine. But on the A10 5800K Steambox Fedora 20 powered box of goodness, this worked fine. And on the 1090T 670 powered Fedora 20 box by my foot right here, it also worked right out of the box, no issues. Had to knock down the video effects on the Steam box, but that's to be expected. Yeah. 4 chairs for that. Double complete working.
So on the calculator with the Intel i3 370M and the ATI AMD, whatchamacallit, 5650 HD with the open source drivers on Ubuntu 1404 64-bit, it ran stupidly well. I mean, it's genuinely a Unity game that basically you buy it, download it, play it. 4 chairs.
Sweet. So that's 4 chairs with makes with the working. Shiny and sounds, Sven. What do you think of that?
Now, we'll know. I love turn-based strategy, right?
Yes.
Favorite category. Yes. No, considering this business, the engine, considering the engine it's running on, yes, it's brown everywhere, the game, but it doesn't look horrible at all. I mean, it looks fantastic for you. This is the other Unity game that doesn't look like complete shit. The other one being
Distance.
There we go. I was a bit confused though. Like the graphical menus, it had motion blur, and I was like, "This is turn-based strategy. The fuck all are you going to use motion?" Then I did the scroll wheel thing, and I was like, "Ooh, shiny!" And, I put the glue stick back in my mouth and sit there for like 5 minutes, and I was like, "That's a neat effect." The audio, it's hella snooze-inducing, but the voice work, gotta say, it's a bit above average for this lot. So for the shiny and sounds, it's not going to blow your and eye pussies all apart, man. It's just not, but a lot of love and a lot of work went into this, and it looks good. So...
And a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money. I'm going to have to get this one.
That doesn't hurt either.
3 chairs. J-Man.
Jeez. Yeah, I always thought the Infinity Engine games aged very gracefully. I mean, they still look about as good as you'd expect them to, even today. And this game takes a lot of pages out of the Infinity Engine's book, and for good reason. It was one of the premier RPG engines of its time. This reminds me of a slightly nicer looking Infinity Engine written in Unity. I too was quite surprised with the motion blur when you do the middle click and move stuff around. I'm like, huh. I wasn't expecting that one. That's neat. Like Ben said, there's a lot of brown, but it makes sense. The game takes place in a fucking desert, so that's to be expected. And the voice acting is pretty decent. I was quite surprised with that. I thought it would just be text only. So, yeah, like Ben said, not completely mind-blowing, but still very well done. So, 3 chairs. Pedro.
Yeah, for me, I get that the graphics were an art choice. They were designed. They look like that by design, but they look dated. So dated, in fact, that I don't get why I actually needed to tone down the graphics considerably, far below what I do for, say, Distance, in order to get at least 30 frames per second. I don't get it.
You should have just went for that cinematic feel.
Yeah, no. That's my big complaint about it.
You mean 24 frames a second?
I'm telling you, man, that's where the folks are at.
Yeah, but that is my big complaint about the game. And background music, it's Mark Morgan showing that he still got it. It's like Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 had a cowboy theme, baby. The live action intro cutscene was, well, it looked off. Regardless of how many times I saw it.
It made you want to play that game, didn't it?
It looked off. I mean, no questioning the production value that went into it, but it looked off. And then someone on Twitter, Dan Swick, he asked if I had thought that it was as much an anachronism. as he did. And after I Googled anachronism, I have to agree. It is very much so. So for me, it gets 3 chairs for the Shiny and Sounds.
All right. Well, that's 3 chairs for Shiny and Sounds then.
This is pretty easy on the math organ.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
Seems to be quite the consensus. Controls, Ven, what do you think?
I got 2 things to say. A, I think it would be incredibly difficult to fuck up controls for a turn-based strategy game. B, I don't know what fucking controls for a turn-based strategy should really be, because I loathe the genre. Everything worked. I mean, spreadsheet inventory management and all there. But, you know, I did the clicks and the things moved and, you know, your standard was, you know how it's going to work. Q and, E. I'm going to
spin the camera.
Right, you know that's going. You don't have to read any of the control organ. No issues with anything. I had no issues controlling. But then again, I know fuck all about turn-based strategies other than these 2 clowns like playing them. So, 4 chairs with that grain of chainsaw that I know.
Well, it's not, like you keep saying it's a turn-based strategy game. It's an RPG, buddy.
Yeah.
But anyways.
No, but it's turn-based strategy.
Yeah, but if you played Baldur's Gate, you know exactly how this fucking game works. One nice little addition I noticed is the fact that you can type in dialogue options. So if you're actually paying attention, you can sort of screw around with the existing dialogue. And yeah, that was a nice little touch. It's something like it's basically something out of Ultima, and I think the new Shroud of the Avatar game is entirely that interface, which is actually something I'm looking forward to. Yeah, like Ven said, you can't really fuck this one up too hard, so 4 chairs.
And they really did not fuck it up, because I'm usually the one who gets to complain when a Unity game does not allow people to rebind controls. And I didn't even need to check whether or not this game allowed me to rebind my controls, because guess what? These blue arrow thingies here on this side of the keyboard, they worked out of the box. And the mouse... One of the problems I always have with the mouse in Unity games is that it's stupidly sensitive. Again, not an issue with this one. In Exile, pull down your pants because I want to suck your dicks. 4 chairs.
On that bombshell, 4 chairs for controls. Speaking of sucking dicks, let's move on to the fun segment.
Well, in this role-playing game, air quotes, where you take turns fucking shooting at each other. Role-playing. I don't know what kind of role-playing you're into, man. I think you're a bit fucking mental.
It involves dice and sex toys. I'll leave it at that.
Hey, whatever works for you, baby. I wanted to like it. I genuinely did. I think, you know, I'm sorry. For me, this really felt like real-time strategy. Anytime I see a fucking grid, my brain goes, oh. And I didn't approach this going, I'm going to hate it because I don't like this genre. I was like, if there's going to be one that makes me want to play inventory management, click, take turns, try to kill each other, that doesn't fucking really work that way in life. The game, this was going to be it. I mean, that's how I went into that, and it didn't. P-Man's going to get into this in a bit more detail, but once I realized that you genuinely had to micromanage everything, I noped hard. Because I got to, you know, I played it almost an hour and a half right there, and I got through things. And once I realized that you had to go back and, like, adjust everything just right, with especially ammo management that was pissing me off, and I was like, oh, no, do you want a group share? I was like, I get paid to organize shit, you know, when I do stuff like this. I want money. This is not a game to me. This is not fun. I wasn't having fun. I wasn't. Sorry. I love these guys. They sent us the keys for the game. I think they did a fantastic delivery on making a Unity game that doesn't suck under Linux, because that is a monumental achievement. Praise Flying Spaghetti Monster and all the fantastic people over there who got this sorted. But if you're like me and you don't like role-playing games that are really turn-based strategy, you're not going to have a good time. So 1 chair, get off the lawn.
After playing this game for about 2.5 hours, I realized this isn't the game I want. I want Torment, which is actually made by these guys in Exile. I think when I explained this to Pedro, he had a good quote. It was, I hate this pizza because it's not a taco.
Yeah.
and I think that basically sums up my feeling for this game. I'm not really a fan of the post-apocalyptic setting. I think it's a bit trite. I think I don't know. It's not really my thing. It's not really a fault of the game. I mean, the game works wonderfully. This is virtual Dungeons and Dragons, or I guess this would be like virtual GURPS or whatever sort of, or Apocalypse World, or who the fuck cares. Yeah, there's inventory management, and yeah, there's all this micromanaging, but that's basically what an RPG is. But instead of having to do it with 4 characters, you only do it with 1 character. That doesn't bother me that much. The game at its core could be fun. It's just the setting doesn't really appeal to me. And really, I want to be after seeing this, I'm so excited for Torment, and I'm so mad that I'm playing this game instead of Torment. So again, not the game's fault. It's just not my cup of tea. I give this 2 chairs because it's meh.
Yeah. Well, this game reminded me exactly why I didn't like Icewind Dale or Baldur's Gate back in the day as much as I liked the original Fallouts and Neverwinter Nights. It's the kind of game that, like Vin said, it doesn't exactly need you to micromanage everything, but it makes me want to micromanage everything. And in the original Fallouts and Neverwinter Nights, I only had to micromanage my character. It was the one character, everything else was just like, oh, use this weapon, go stand over there, have a more passive stance instead of aggressive, but it was just a very shallow sort of micromanaging your party. You only had to really care about your protagonist. This game, much like Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale,
specifically Icewind Dale,
because Baldur's Gate had a slightly different system, but yeah, it is basically Icewind Dale in a post-apocalyptic setting. And it tickles the side of my brain that makes me want to micromanage everything. And that part of my brain is not a very fun thing to have. And when I spend 2 to 3 hours just doing the BS micromanagement of the entire team and making sure they're using the best equipment, they got the best guns, they have all they need, I'm not actually experiencing the game. I'm not progressing. I'm not reading the awesome dialogue that is actually included in this game. I'm not exploring the wasteland, which is what I like to do the most when it comes to these games. And that makes me want to ding it a chair, so it gets 3 for the fun.
All right, so that averages out to about 2 chairs for fun, and if we tally all this up, we get a 3-chair game for Wasteland 2. Now, one thing I didn't bring up, that Ven brought up actually about the ammo management, actually makes sense given the setting where there's no ammo and you have to ration ammo and be a bit paranoid with ammo management. So that is actually a sort of, I would say that's a point in the game's favor.
Yeah.
But gentlemen, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. If you like this business, if it's your thing, so they're in the shut realm, I think, who was it? Free Jack said, this appeals to a certain type of psychopath. And I get it. I see it. It's not that I don't get this type of game. Some people genuinely love it. It is completely not my thing. I think it looks decent. I think it runs fantastically. And they did not slouch on the soundtrack or, the music and all that. It's very published, yes. New word for the week. And most importantly, at the end of the day, it launched on Linux, on Windows, on Mac, from an indie team. And some of these big motherfuckers out there with a lot more resources behind them, it's like, oh, this Linux thing's difficult. Maybe you'll get a beta prototype in 6 months. I don't know. So, good on them for that fact alone. If it's your thing, pick it up. You might like it. If you're like me, if you're standing directly in front of a guy and you take a shot at him and it's miss, and you just go flip the table, it doesn't work like that, you're not going to have fun. J-Man.
Yeah, like I said, post-apocalyptic isn't really my bag. I'm just upset that this isn't Torment Tides of Numenera or Project Eternity. I'm staring at the Project Eternity beta, just waiting for that Linux binary to come down. That would make me so happy. No, but seriously, if you like RPGs, this is I would put this up there with Shadowrun Returns on like quality RPGs under Linux. Yeah. And that's really all I have to say about that. As far as RPGs go, this one's pretty good. If you like Infinity Engine games, you will like this. End of story.
In fact, personally, I would put it far above Shadowrun, but that's just me. Because I do like the post-apocalyptic setting. Fallout 2 is my all-time favorite game to this day. And again, it's Icewind Dale in post-apocalyptia, and while it's not Fallout, it's still a very good Linux RPG. Admittedly, you have to have a decent enough PC to actually run it with all the bells and whistles. Unnecessarily so, judging by how the graphics look. In my opinion, that is. But yeah, it is a very good Linux RPG, and if you like Fallout, if you like Icewind Dale, pick it up. Admittedly, it's kind of pricey, but to me, it's worth the cashes because I've already sunk 16 hours into it, and I plan to sink another 16.
That's brilliant. So, coming up next, we learn the difference between a copy and the original in our hate mail section. Hey, like the show? Check us out at LinuxGameCast.com. Click on the podcast button for RSS feeds, our wall of shame, and donato buttons. There's also an Amazon affiliate link, because making this shit is hella expensive, yo. Speaking of which, if you like kicking us somewhat stinky, a recurring donation gets you a producer's credit at the end of the show, and a one-time donation gets you into the super ultra mega chocolatey fudge Linux Gaming Super Squad. Broke as shit. Can't steal your parents' credit cards? No problem. Spread the word on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and YouTube. And remember, kids, fuckity bye.
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it is my personal favorite segment of this show, and it's the hate mail. And as usual, if you'd like to get in touch with us, go on over to LinuxGameCast.com. Push that lovely contact button on the nav bar there. Fill out your name, fill out your email, give us a subject, give us your message. Prove you're smarter than Vensbot, and no, the bash exploits will not work. Believe me, we've tried. And we'll be happy to feature your message.
It kind of requires you to be using bash CGI scripts, which we're using tons of.
But yeah, if you are, still trying to promote your Kickstarter or Indiegogo or Steam Greenlight or whatever, make sure to include a demo, alpha, beta, something we can play around with, because if you don't, we will not mention your thing. Sound reasonable? Good. So
it's completely unreasonable.
Someone needs to learn their ABCs, apparently.
All right.
Okay, so this is from Satrak, and he says, "Hi guys, during your last LGC Weekly episode 109 last week from a week ago, it sounded like you guys gave the impression that Terraria was a knockoff of Starbound. Terraria was never released to Linux yet, and Starbound was in 2013. Terraria, on the other hand, was released in 2011. I don't care who was first and who copied who, they're both fucking awesome. I'm glad Terraria is on Linux. And please give Pedro a break. Someday he'll get a real computer." He's also Portuguese, so that makes him the best at everything by birthright.
Stop.
From the name doesn't mean anything, Satrak.
So here's the thing. I was going to point out exactly why you were wrong in these assumptions you make here. But since you kissed my ass as much as you did, I won't. But here, let me introduce you to the Svang himself. And because you didn't kiss his ass, he has no reason not to.
What's going on? I believe I made it incredibly clear that several Terraria clones had made it to Linux before Terraria proper. Apparently someone needs to take the chainsaws out of their ears. That said, if you like the games, go fucking play them. They're of no interest to me.
Oh yeah, and I like how he points out that the name doesn't mean anything. Satrak or Satrak. Well, if you spell it backwards, that spells cartas, which
And if
in
you drop
English,
yes,
in English, it translates to letters, as in the kind you mail to another person.
No,
So it does mean
I thought you were gonna go on like that.
I like how P-Man didn't see. I actually titled the description. Didn't realize that I picked it up and named the title ABC.
It's easy. It's as simple as Do-Re-Mi. ABC, one baby, you and me. All right, next one.
Whoa, not touching that name, P-Man.
Pyrolytic tungsten.
All right.
He
Factorio's
says-
Z.10 branch has reached stable release with yes. That game where you build automated factories while waging war in a hostile alien wildlife area. The experience game runs well. Ubuntu. 1404, most played map 48. But no Linux, it was hotfix. I'm sure if Pedro's calculator has enough RAM, it currently needs a video card with at least 512 megabytes of RAM, not VRAM. The available demo is good at introducing the basic concepts of the next release. My only involvement in the game is my involvement on their forums and using my wet stinky caches to buy the game.
Yeah. So here's the thing. My calculator, old as it may be, does have 1 gigabyte of dedicated GDDR3 VRAM or whatever you want to call it.
I don't know, man. These graphics look like they'd be kind of brutal on your box.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
all the
sorry,
sprites. Look at them.
I can't hear you over my 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 in my video card.
Yeah.
Screaming
I was
way
unemployed
too
for over a
loudly.
year. Go fuck yourself.
Wow, that escalated
Wow.
quickly. But what is this? I mean, you build factories. This looks...
It's basically playing a Captain Planet villain of the game.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. They have, you can buy the
Oh.
alpha, but you can try the demo. What's it written in? Anybody tried it or bought it?
Nope.
I remember trying it when we first covered this game a long time ago. I mean, it works. It's the kind of strategy game that I personally am not that into. It's resource management and dealing with the creatures that, hey, you're polluting our atmosphere, so we're gonna kill you, or at least try. But yeah, that's not my cup of tea, but it works. So if you like those kinds of games, give it a shot, I suppose.
Well, I guess on that Portuguese bombshell, it's time to cue the music and tell the lovely people where they can find us. I'm Vin Stone at Vin Stone, cleverly disguised on the Twitter net, plus Vin Stone on the G pluses. What's up, Hebrew?
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me at The Burning Fool or plus Jordan Svung on Twitter and Google Plus, respectively. And this Portuguese asshole is
Out of
The one and
cigarettes.
only, the giggling death, Pedro Mateus. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateus on Google Plus. And hey, if you go on Google Plus and say "fuck you, Jordan," I'll be happy to plush you and share you.
So,
Bring it on.
I guess at the end
Your
of the
hate
day,
gives-
just take
your
that
hate gives
shot
me a
and
thumb.
remember, P-Man, I have so much nicotine at this house. It's incredible. I think I'll just go smoke and smoke.
You know, I
Yo,
think I have a pack
fuck
of
yourself
cigarettes hidden
too, Vin,
away
I suppose.
somewhere that I can go have. You know what? Let's get some Marlboros out.
You know what? In less than 2 hours, the coffee shop downstairs will be open, and I'll be able to buy
And
a
no
pack.
one cares.
The movie.
Starring Nicolas Cage as Gary Busey.
Jason
Statham.
Statham.
Starring Jason Statham